Too late, we got tied up.
I got just about done here, so.
All right, well, let me get out of the way so you can finish
All
up.
right, man, thanks, Jeff. I was saying,
How are you? Good to see you. Got to come a ways, huh? How's Nevada Jack? Gee, all right. So where you guys go from here? What's that?
We're going to stay in town tonight.
Oh, you are? Okay.
I told him, I said, well,
You want to? All right.
yeah, you're going to get wet.
Yeah, let's go like this. Yeah. All right, now before I get started, of course you all know Nevada Jack Prescott. All right, give it up for him. Come on. We're the dynamic duo here, and of course, my lovely wife Leela Williams over there, without her to listen to that. So you better give it up for her too. Big round of applause. She's the brains of the outfit. Don't look at me because I don't know nothing. We brought gifts. I always come bearing gifts. So at the end of our little whoop-de-doo here, I'm going to give you guys. That's right, Gary Super Cisco fans. I'm going to sign them too. So you got that, and I got some spoons and all kinds of stuff for you. So I think you'd like that. I know I like that thing. So, oh, thank you. I like that. Any questions out there, so we get this out of the way. Because I got a lot to talk about, and it's going to be time consuming. And I know y'all got questions. I got Larry over here in the front who goes on all my tours. I know he's got questions, but keep them quick and simple, and I'll get them out of the way, and then we'll get on into the meat of it. So, Larry, you got a question first.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
Larry Engelhard. I don't know if you know him. He comes out on the tour, smart guy, and he films everything with that little GoPro.
But you know, there's so many different ways to prospect and mine, all the different, you know, sluicing, metal detecting. What is your favorite out of all those? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, hard rock.
Hard rock, okay.
My favorite is hard rock. I was born and raised into hard rock mining, 4th generation. My dad got me into it when I was 10. So when you see that on the video where I say, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I ain't pulling your leg either. So, and I ain't going to tell you how old I am either. And I got my degree at Mackey School of Mines. And I went on to do this professionally, worked for a couple mining companies, and then did it small scale. And then realized there's too much politics in the big companies, and got out of it. So I started doing this on my own, small scale, and I like it a lot better. I have more control over it. Having to deal with the politics and bureaucracy up on top. You know how that can get. So I don't mess with that no more. So I hope that answers your question. Hard rock is the way to go. It's hard mining. I think you've done one of our hard rock tours. Yeah. It's brutal, but the gold can be fantastic because it's never been seen the light of day yet. So, next question. Anybody? I knew you got one.
On your next tour in Osceola, are we able to dry wash or strictly metal detecting?
Hey, you want to dry wash, you can bring a dry wash. I talked to Lynn, he said it was still damp up there, but I don't know what it's going to be like by the time we get there. So my idea was, let's see if there's any chunky monkeys sitting on the bedrock. So, and then I got a few surprises for you too. I ain't going to let out of the bag just yet, so hope you're not claustrophobic. But I found something real interesting up there, and I want to try to run through it real quick with some gold bug tubes. If you know that area, and I'm sure some of you do, you'll know what I'm talking about. Chinese tongue. All right, any more questions? So we can get on with this, huh? No? Nada? How about you, Nevada Jack? You got a question? No, yeah, you awake over there? You can wake up, son boy. All right. So we're going to talk about one thing we're all here to talk about, which is gold, and I'm going to keep it short and simple. I can go into hours and hours of explanation on this subject, and I have, yeah, that's true. Remember, you got different types of gold mining, but for the basic preliminary gold mining, you got, which is your primary, lode, secondary, placid. Now there's other different types of gold mining, but for the most part, those are the two. We're only going to focus on placer. You guys are probably not going to do lode mining, the majority of you. It's very expensive, it's very dangerous, and the amount of investment is unbelievable. If you, even for a small scale, you have to bankroll at least 10 grand in equipment just to get a small scale operation. If you go large, you have to have a plan of operation, you have to have a bond. You're going to spend about 100 grand just to get a large scale going. So we're not going to talk about that. If you want to pull me off to the side, I'll be more than happy to tell you what you want to know about it. And I'll tell you the new techniques for extracting gold, which is called resin ion exchange. And if you want to get into that, we can, but it gets really complicated. So they're not really doing cyanide heat leaching anymore. They're going on to an exchange resin. Anyway, let's get on to this. Now, a lot of you guys have clubs out here in where? Barstow. Yep. Right over here, you got the Gold Bug and the Nowhere, and I think you have the Hey Buddy 1 through 1,000 out there. And I think Tom Massey's got some claims out there too with his wife Cassie. So I'm going to go over that area a little bit because you guys know that area, and then that way you can shoot questions to me and I'll do my best to answer them. So the first question I always get is, where's the gold coming from? Because if you can figure that out, then you can chase down the source and you don't have to mess around with these small pieces of gold. Now granted, you're not going to get large pieces. Once in a while you'll get a large piece, but if you're staying down in the valley, it's all going to be really small finds and some flakes. Now, where is it coming from? I've had a lot of geologists speculate on its location. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think, being out there and doing my evaluation, is you got two sources that it's coming from. One is in the Mud Hills, which is directly to the south, and the other location is right outside of Williams Well. Those two mountain ranges used to be a lot bigger at one time, and a lot of the gold is coming off of there. Now, granted, you have a basement rock of granite that runs through there. It's actually called Waterman gneiss, and that's a lot of your basement rock. It's decomposing, and a lot of guys will find gold sitting on top of it, where you have that nice white caliche, and you got some dacite in there, brecciated dacite sitting on top of it, and they'll find gold in there. But my point is, you need to move out into the hills to get the larger chunks. I know for a fact Williams Wells produced a lot of beautiful, large gold out there. Of course, it's all claimed up, so you're going to have to either get in with a club, or you're going to have to either buy the claim or negotiate with whoever owns it. But there's tons of gold to be had there. So those are the two sources. And to prove my point, if you go on to a website called landmatters.org, I'm sure you're familiar with it. If not, I'll go over it. You'll see Tom Massey's claims. Tom Massey, he's not a spring chicken. This isn't his first gold outing. And if you look at his claims, where are they? They're all in the Mud Hills. They're not down there at the Coolgardie Camp, not down there in the basin, not over there by Black Mountain or Opal Mountain or any of that. Right up there on the side of Mud Hills, on the north side, because he knows where that gold is coming from. He's a smart guy. I like him. So that's where I would start looking, and then over by Williams Well as well, up in those hills. And if you go on the Land Matters, you're going to see a pattern. The pattern, when you see the claims, you're going to see the top of the ridge to the east is lode, the top of the ridge to the west is placid. That should give an indication to you, and that's why it's important to know that site. They look at it for claims, I look at it for information. Why are other people finding so many placid claims there, or so many lode claims there? I need to start digging. I need to start bringing up the USGS reports. I need to start finding out what's going on. And that's another thing you need to do, is understand how to read USGS reports. You need to understand the terminology involved. They got some really crazy words in there, and I can spit out a bunch of them, and it sounds like I'm talking Japanese. You need to understand that, because when you go to read these reports, you need to understand what they're saying, so when you get out to the location, you can say, oh, I understand perfectly, I did my research, I know what these words mean, I know what that rock is, and this is where they were finding the gold. Now, what I'm teaching you now is if you guys decide to go out on your own. If you stay with a club, nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Me, I want the biggest gold I can get my hands on. I'm not happy with ounces anymore. Now I want pounds. And I'm going to tell you a secret right now. Pay attention. There's a thing called miner's remorse. If you don't know what that is, I'm about to share this little secret with you, huh? Isn't that right? You got steak dinner remorse. Anyway, so when you start finding a lot of gold, it's never going to be enough. I can assure you, the fever will strike you so hard, you'll start to find subgrams. Then you'll find grams. Then you'll find half ounces. Then you'll find ounces. Then you'll find half pounds. It won't be enough. Trust me. And anything below what you found last time, it's going to be a letdown. That's why they call it gold miner's remorse. So my point is this, is that as you go on and you start finding more or bigger gold, you're going to want bigger gold after that. You're going to realize if I can find this, there must be bigger gold out there. And the list will go on and on and on. And it will drive you crazy if the fever's got it into you like it did to me. So now I've found pans and pans of gold that just have ounces in it. Now I want the half pounds, and after that I want 1 pound. Who knows after that? Maybe kilograms after that. So I'm just warning you before you get into this. This is real, and it will shake you to the core, especially when you find a big deposit. And I want you to get the clues so you can go out and do this on your own. It's hard, it's dangerous, it'll put your body to the test, it'll work your metal, as they call it, but if you can do it and you can find it, there's no payoff in the world, no feeling in the world like this. You ask any of the guys on the tours, when they hit those big pay streaks, there's no feeling in the world. It's like seventh heaven. And then the problem is now you want more. You got to go back. 6 ounces, 7 ounces, 10 ounces, 20 ounces. It's not enough. Now you want the full-size trommels or the full-size dredges. So just warning you ahead of time before you guys get too involved with this. But I want to give you all the tools you need so you can get out there and do this on your own. Because eventually, some of you, not all, but some are going to say, you know what? He's right. I want to strike out on my own. I know I can do it. I'm smart enough. I'm capable. And I want to find the mother lode. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to look. It won't come easy. I'm going to tell you that right now. I spent years looking for some of these deposits. Didn't have nothing to show for it. Spent thousands of dollars on claims. Nothing to show for it. Travel time, expenses, food, you name it. This is stuff you don't see in my videos. All you're seeing is the highlight, the spectacular events. You're not seeing the letdowns. I can tell you, I've worked that drift mine for years. I've been down underground working that drift mine. And we found pockets that didn't pay out. The pockets that you see are the ones you see on video, are the ones that are paying out with the 3 gram nuggets and the half gram, or a 3 gram, 3/4 ounce nuggets coming out. That is fantastic. But there's been times where I've been digging and nothing. And right now we're pushing the drift 30 feet in the opposite direction, and there's a reason why. There's supposed to be another pocket in that direction. It's hard going. It's been 6 months pushing that drift and hoping that there's something there. So my point is, it's hard work if you go out on your own, but the reward is fantastic if you can do it. You gotta be careful. This is gonna be play tricks with your body and your mind. You're gonna get out there in the heat. Trust me, I've had heat stroke and I've had heat exhaustion, and I've had to be actually not medevac, but I had to be driven back to Vegas before it packed in ice. I'm telling you.
There's water for you, Jeff.
Oh, there you go.
Heat stroke.
So, anyway, let's get on with the information. So, you're going to need to know the websites like MRDS. You need to know this information because it's going to tell you where the gold mines are. It's going to tell you all the background history of those mines. It's going to give you a starting point. Research is always the key before you do anything. You're going to need mylandmatters.org because that's going to tell you the land status and it's going to tell you where the claims are. Placer's going to be in orange, lode's going to be in blue. You're going to look up the land status. I've done tons and tons of meetings trying to explain how it works and how you use mathematics to determine if the ground is open. Because when you go to look at that, it's not going to tell you where that 20-acre claim is on that 1 mile square cube. You're going to have to use the noodle to figure that out. I've done videos on that. And why am I telling you this? Because when you get on there and you say, oh, there's a placer claim there. Yeah, but where is it? How big is it? Because if it's a 20 acre, that tells me a huge chunk of that 1 square mile is open. You've got a chance to get in there and file your claim. It's not hard to do. The easiest state is Arizona, then Nevada, then California. I could file a claim in Arizona like this. They practically draw it out for you. It's so simple. Of course, you know the fees have gone up with BLM. They went up $10. Don't forget that when you go to file. September's rolling around the corner. If you guys have your own claims, you better get that in there, assessment fee, or they'll yank your claim. That's what they want. All right, so MRDS, mylandmatters.org, USGS reports. You're going to need to read these reports, do this research, and understand what the heck they're talking about. That way when you get out in the field, you can do your own gold mining and know exactly what they were saying in the reports. And some of these reports go back 100 years. You've got to realize this when you're doing the research. Very important. Get as close to that time period when they were mining as possible. Because as time goes on, the story gets diluted, and next thing you know, you've got all these weird stories about one spot that doesn't make any sense. I've heard so many stories about Coolgardie, it's not even funny, about there was an ancient river there, and there's all this other crazy stuff. I'm telling you, no. 2 sources of gold, washed down, those mountains eroded away. There's still little tiny stockworks and stringers left in the gneiss, I believe is the bedrock out there. So, the Waterman gneiss. So you're going to need, like I said, do your research, and you're going to have to be very vigilant about this. It's going to get tough, really tough. All right, so getting back to our favorite place is Coolgardie. Now, there are a lot of shafts out there. Those are drift mines. Those aren't traditional hard rock shafts. I'm not advocating going in them, but I'm saying if you can sample on the outside of them to see if there's any gold, and you might know the owner who owns the mine, you might be able to get in there and sample inside of them. So, but just, that's on you. Don't say Jeff said, go down in the shafts, because I'm not going to be responsible. But my point is this. If you want that gold, you've got to do something that's really bold, because everybody's picked over everything a million times. We've done repelling in mines so many times, it's not even funny. I've done videos on it too. I was part of the Cave Association of Las Vegas for years. So if you guys can, I would get familiarized with repelling, because there's going to be scenarios where you need to go down in some of these mines if you want to get the better gold, because everybody else has picked over everything a million times. Like I said, it's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it. And we've got some surprises coming up that have to do with that for some of you hardcore people out there that want to go for the real gold. And I'll cover that later on the website. But I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag just yet. But it's hardcore. This is the real deal. You're going to be camping right there on the spot for a week. You're going to be doing repelling, drilling, blasting, the whole 9 yards. That's right. So,
Sierra
I
Blast.
don't care if it's
No,
No, you got big stuff?
we got contractors.
The boom show.
Yeah,
There you go.
the real deal. Because I want people to get full experience. Sierra Blaster,
Fine for moving it.
yeah, if you want to pop out little tiny rocks now and then, it's fine. But but if you really need to move a lot of material, and I've demonstrated this in some of my videos, there are other ways to do it, legal ways to do it, so you don't have to worry about ATF coming down on you, or BLM. I can tell you stories about BLM, but I won't get into that right now. And don't touch any turtles, okay? I'm going to tell you that right now from my own personal experience. They will come to your house, they will serve you papers, and they will haul you to court and threaten jail time. So, yeah, I had to go through all of that for touching a turtle.
Talking to the turtle.
Yeah, he was with me. So I had to go out here to the logistics space in Barstow to answer to the man. That's right. So just be careful. They're very leery about negotiate hard. I did things I wasn't proud of. So, all right. So you got all this information. Now it's time to sample. When you're sampling, there's different ways to sample. I could go into a whole laundry list of sampling, but sampling is the key. Sometimes you'll spend a week doing it. Sometimes you'll spend 6 months doing it. I spent some sampling programs out there at Meadview, at the King Tut Placers, 6 months to a year of nothing but sampling. I had to have a detailed map. That way I knew exactly where the gold was, where the trends were, exactly how many pay layers there were. And to give you an idea, I barely scratched the surface. They had drilling rigs out there in the 60s that were going down 200 feet to sample, to find out where the layers were, to find out what the yardage was. And they were finding out it was too sporadic. It just wasn't worth bringing in a commercial operation. But that 7-mile strip has produced some fantastic gold, but it's very sporadic. And a lot of it is up around the hills. You'll have people who own private property, they'll do pushes because they're allowed to. People like me, if we don't have that type of luxury, we have a casual use on our claim, so we have to metal detect and then move overburden out of the way. It's a lot of work. So when you sample, it can take a long time, but it's going to tell you what's in the ground. Sampling is the key. I can't stress that enough. When you sample, you got to write everything down. When you go out to the field and you find gold, I don't care if it's fly poop, you're going to write that down. I went down 3 feet and I found one piece of fly poop right here on the map. I'm going to take a picture of it with my smartphone. I'm going to GPS it. That way I know where it's at. You're going to do that until you have an idea of what you're looking at. Then next year when it's cool, you're going to bring in bigger equipment. That's how you're productive. If you just want to have fun and find a few specks and call it a day, that's fine. Me, like I said, miner's remorse. Miner's remorse. I want more gold. How do I do it? How do I find that gold? What steps do I got to take? Sample, sample, sample. Now we use augers to sample. I found that was the easiest way. And a lot of mining companies do that too. They bring in these drilling rigs and they have a barrel on their auger so they don't lose any of the material. Well, we don't have that luxury. We go to Harbor Freight and we get ourselves an auger with a 3-foot on it and we drop it down. And I got to warn you, you hit a rock and that thing's going to buck you like a bronco. And it just might break your arm depending on how strong you are. But you auger down and you do a grid pattern. And you're going to start sampling, looking for gold out of all the material that's coming up out of that auger. I figure if there's anything deeper than 3 feet at that particular point, I don't want to move that much overburden. Unless you're really serious and then you can bring in, say, a backhoe or an excavator. That's a whole different story. And you can sample with those, but then you have to have a plan of action, you have to have a plan of operation, you have to have all types of paperwork with the BLM. And trust me, it's a headache. So use your augers to sample with. It's a lot easier. The biggest question I get is, Jeff, how do you know where to sample? Now, I could go into some unconventional ways to do that. I have used dowsing rods to sample before. People are going to laugh at me, but I guarantee you that they work for me. And I have my own special technique. I don't do what you see a lot of these videos on YouTube, but I do bait one rod, the one in my right hand, and I always hold it down to the very far side, and I keep the other one up. And I use that, and I go on a grid, north, south, east, west. And it usually works for me. Not 100%, but usually. I can find water like nobody's business. I kid you not, I can find a drop of water in the Sahara Desert with those. They do work. A lot of people give me grief over it, and I don't care. Because I know it works. For me, it works for me. But you have to come up with your own way. Now, you can be logistical about it and say, Jeff, I don't have your abilities to douse. What else can I do? Well, there are software programs out there available for everybody. One of them is called Landsat. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's been around forever and a day. And then you use that software program to try to figure out where you have certain anomalies in the ground, and it'll actually help you determine if that spot is primed for gold. You can also use, they have magnetometers, they fly over all the time, magnetic resonance reports, and you can look at those. You can also look at geological maps. You're going to take gold mining sites and you're going to template that on your computer on top of your geological maps. And then you're going to see your contact zones of your different rocks or strata, and then you're going to see where the miners were at, and you're going to see similarities. You're going to line those similarities up, and you're going to try to branch out into new areas and look for what's called an extension vein or extension lodes or placers, ones that they just missed because it was just under the surface that they didn't catch. You're going to use those to help get your clues going for you so you can get out into new areas. It does work. It's time consuming. You're going to spend a couple months easy just trying to piece the pieces together to understand what's in the ground. Like I said, this isn't for the faint of heart. This is the real deal here if you really want to get out there and do this. Now, what a lot of guys do, they say, Jeff, you know, I like all this, but I don't really want to put all that energy, money, and effort into it. But I am interested in filing a claim and maybe selling the claim. There are a lot of people who make money in the process of filing and selling. Right now is a perfect time. Gold is peaking at $1,500 an ounce. And I guarantee you it's going up, and I'm not going to get into the reasons why, because we could sit here all day and talk about the logistics of it. It is going to go up. So what a lot of people do, they'll go and they'll find areas that are close to gold mining districts, and they'll file claims on them. Then they'll wait for bigger companies, usually from Canada, to come in, and they'll say, you know what, we want this entire zone, we'll pay you for whatever you think the claim's worth, or we have our own assessment team that says this claim is worth this much, or we think there's this much reserves, we'll give you this much. I've seen people make money that way, so you can do that too. Filing claims are really easy. If you guys need special assistance, I'll be more than happy to after the meeting to give you a fast class on how to file a claim. It's not hard to do. In the old days, it was a little complicated. Now BLM just wants money. That's all they want. And you don't have to bring a D9 out and do a push for assessment work. You don't have to do that anymore. You send in your money, they're happy, bada bing. Make sure it's in before September 1st, on or before. And always keep an eye out for the brochures that they send, because they look like junk mail. I almost threw mine away. And my wife says, I don't think that's junk mail. You better look at that. And it says the fees are going up. If you don't pay them, you lose your claim. Well, isn't that just a howdy doody to you? So anyway, stay on top of that. And that's how you can make money at it. Any questions so far? I know it's for hours and tell you exactly how you're going to find this gold. If it's hard rock, how you're going to extract it, how you're going to mill it, how you're going to have assay reports done. I could go on and on forever, but you guys don't do that. This is small scale. Now, if you guys got those questions outside of the meeting, I'll be more than happy to answer it, because that's outside the scope of what we're doing. This is small scale only. But I'm telling you, there is money to be made here if that's what you want to do. And there's gold out there. Like you saw my last video, 3/4 ounce nuggets, they're still out there. Tons of gold. So and don't ask me where the drift mines are. It took me years to find them, and there's a reason why we sunk shafts there. And it took us forever to sink shafts, and we're still timbering on the way down. So, and if you have questions about timber framing, the types of wood, I can answer that outside of the meeting too. It's a lost art form, but if you do it right, your mind will be secured. So, no questions so far? Really? Wow. Okay.
Did you have any earthquake damage?
No. First thing we did, that was a big question on YouTube, is Jeff, first of all, were you in your drift mine when the earthquakes hit? No, I was not. Luckily, I got some inside information to leave. I won't tell you how, but I did leave and we got out. Second of all, the drift mine is in fantastic shape. The only damage was around the collar, and there's a reason for that. And I want you to visualize a storm in an ocean, and the waves are raging around, and then you go underwater and everything's calm and smooth. There might be a little bit of current, but not like up on the surface. Rock behaves a lot like water, especially when it starts to move. You'll see it roll, and you'll see it do things that doesn't look natural. When you're inside a mine, it's going to move as well. The most of the damage is going to be where the surface is at the top. If you have a collar there that's rigid, it's going to move around and it's going to try to break free any loose material around that. But if you're inside, for the most part, unless you have rocks that are ready to come down, that are really loose, it's going to be stable. I didn't see any damage. I have a lot of friends that went out to Randsburg, checked out the mines there. They're all in fantastic shape. The collars and the portals, maybe a little bit of structural issues there. But as far as inside, like I said, it's like being inside the ocean. You're not going to really notice it that much. Everything's going to move. Everything in the lithosphere moves along as the earth moves along. So just keep that in mind. So, also earthquakes. Earthquakes do make gold. If anybody has questions about that, there's a thing called fault valving. And it's something a lot of people don't know about. Fault valving is where there's a lot of hydrothermal fluids that are in the ground below the lithosphere, if I can get that out. Like a list. So you have water, hydrothermal fluids that are trapped below this zone. They're under tremendous pressure. They're under tremendous heat. Earthquake opens up. What happens? They shoot straight up into all the fissures and the fractures. As they're coming up, they start to cool. Now the four things that will drop gold out of solution is a change in temperature, a change in pressure, pH balance, and boiling. Those four things will drop gold out of solution like that. So the fluids are racing up to the top. As they're coming up, they're starting to cool, starting to solidify, minerals start to drop out, and it'll fill these fissures and voids quickly. Now, a lot of people say, Jeff, I don't understand how you can have veins that run sideways underground. Well, that's called lateral secretion. That's another term you're probably going to hear when you start reading these USGS reports. And like I said, and also black shale, which has carbon in it. I'd like to cover that real quick. Like in Washington and in California, the gold is attracted to black carbon. Now, a lot of refineries will use activated carbon to pull the gold out of impregnated cyanide. And they use activated carbon to do that. Gold likes carbon. So, and the two things that put gold into solution is sulfur complex and chlorine complex. Those two things will put it in solution fast. But like I said, this is hard rock, and I don't want to bore you to tears because a lot of people don't do hard rock. So if you have questions, I've got oodles of background history on this and knowledge, just waiting to come out of my mouth. So, all right, so back to placer. So when you're out looking for placer gold in the Coolgardie area, I want you guys to go out to the mud hills. I want you just to look around. I'm not saying that you're going to go out there and you're going to claim jump. Just look around at the geology. Those hills used to be a lot bigger at one time. And I want you to look at the types of rock that are coming off of that. And I want you to go to the Williams Well area too. And I believe Kenny's house is out there somewhere. His gravesite is out there too. There's some nice looking shafts out there that I've been wanting to go into. And somebody sunk a covert pipe down about maybe 20 feet. I'm sure you guys have seen that one. If you get a chance, go in there and sample at the bottom. You're going to notice that the caliche beds have gone from horizontal to vertical. And that's why they put that pipe there, and they were down there sampling. So I'm just letting you guys, I'm not advocating to go down it, but if you get curious, go to the bottom, look to the right, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Just give them a quick sample if nobody owns it. Last time I checked, I think there was a claim filed next to it, but I don't know if it's still active because everything's rotating over right now. Now, speaking of rotating claims, this is one thing I do to get claims that will help you. A lot of people say, Jeff, everybody's got everything claimed up. Wait till after the 1st of September, I'll say October. Then you're going to go to mylandmatters.org and you're going to check to find out what the status is of those claims. You're going to see whether or not they're still active. Then you're going to jump on it if it's not. I've waited years to get on the claim that's out there, which used to be owned by Apache Oro, and then of course now it's owned by a different company, but they let it go and I snatched it up quick. I couldn't believe nobody else got out there and got those claims. Those are incredibly rich claims. Multi-ounce was coming out of there, and some people who have been on that tour have seen the gold that comes out of there. And I can't believe nobody else didn't jump on it. Why? Because they didn't think about it. They don't think about watching that report right after September. Now, just to be fair, there's a thing called a small miner's waiver, and that will actually extend it past October. So you have to keep that in mind too. Maybe they filed a small miner's waiver. So just to be on the safe side, November, December, if they haven't paid their dues, which you'll see it on that report, then you start going in there and prepping that paperwork and getting in there and file before somebody else does. That's an easy, fast way to get a claim. And there's nothing cutthroat about it. They let it go. They just didn't notify anybody. And I've seen that a lot. And a lot of people say, how did you get this claim? This thing's been owned for years. They let it go. They couldn't afford to pay all the fees on all their claims, so they had to systematically let certain ones go. And I just happened to know that which ones I wanted, and they went inactive. So what did I do? Went down to the county recorder's office, filed the paperwork, sent out the money to BLM, boom, I was in like Flint. And that's what you should do too. That way you can get your own claims. Now, it's not for everybody. It's hard work. It really is. And it's going to test your mettle. I mean, Nevada Jack's only 21. Mine in 6 years. So you got to be careful of that. Now, I don't want to take up a lot of your time because I know you guys have probably got things to do. But I wanted to cover the basics with you, some of the websites. I want you to get involved with this. If you have questions outside of this, you come see me, and I'll go in depth with it because I'm here for, gosh, I don't know, how long am I here? I don't even know where I'm at anymore.
Yeah, more than us.
Oh my goodness. And I got some gold pans here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign these gold pans, and then I don't know how you're going to distribute them because There's more people here than I got gold pans. So, and I'm gonna ask one more time before I close this. If you guys got any questions? I got one right here.
I watched a video of yours about using a metal detector to find high concentrations of black sand.
Bingo.
Therefore, good possibility of gold.
Now, that's a good question right here, and that's a good way to find flood gold and light deposits and sometimes pastries. The metal detector we were using in that particular video was a whites. And there's a feature on there called Follow the Black Sands. And it'll actually show you via the meter on top of that thing where the black sands are. What I like to do is I'll get construction stakes, and when the numbers are the highest, I'll just pop them in the ground. And then after a while, you'll see this beautiful line, which is the streak of black sand. Now, it's not going to be super big gold, but there is going to be fine gold in there on the bottom. Think of your gold pan. Black sand, gold, stratified, drops to the bottom. Same thing, Mother Nature's done it for me. All I'm going to do is follow that little streak into a dry washer. That way I don't waste any time. That video was shot years ago. It works then and it works now. You can get multi-ounce of fine gold, but your machine better be able to recover it. We're using a Keen. I like Keen, and of course they have the vibrostatic pads in there now. If you don't know this, gold is attracted to static electricity. Fine gold, not the big stuff. So they have a static pad in there. It's generated from the air blowing through it. And it creates a nice charge. Trust me, I put my finger in there once. Raised my hair. So now I got a charge. So the gold will stick. It'll literally stick inside of it. Fine gold. And we're talking like maybe 50 to 200 mesh minus. So that technique does work. And you're going to need the right equipment to do it. Not all metal detectors are going to have that feature or even that number display to show you what's in there. But if you know your detector fine enough, you'll know that very distinctive boing sound when you're going over an iron or a hot rock. It's very distinct if you know that sound. So you don't have to have that particular machine. Just put it in there and then sample just to see if you're correct. And then all you got to do is find the depth. That's the key. Because it could be this far down or it could be this far down depending on what machine you're using. But that's an easy way to get what I call flood gold because it's right up on the top. The real good stuff is going to be on bedrock. Just like any big gold. It likes to drop down. It's like in a gold pan. Mother Nature stratifies over millions of years, drops the gold to bedrock, it sits on a clay or a pervious zone or bedrock or something to that effect. So, all right, I don't want to bore you to tears because I can see y'all falling asleep. No, that's him falling asleep. You better not. I'll put my finger in your ear. So, all right. So, any last questions before I wrap it up? I'm going to hang out over here in case you guys got questions that, it might not be in part of this conversation. I'll be more than happy to ask it because that's why I'm here. Made a special trip just to answer your questions.
We appreciate it.
Oh, I love it. This is what I do. You better give me a applause too. So you know what I'm going to say then. So come on. Let's go. All right, let me sign these gold pens. Then you guys can wrap them out. Okay. You got it, big guy.
We got something.
Oh, wow.
It's here for you too, Jeff.
Is it lunch? I'm starving.
Got lunch at the back.
Oh, I might take you up on that and cut some coffee too.
Carl has some stuff here
Oh,
too.
I got some shirts. Look at
Yeah,
that.
we gave you a little goodie bag from our high desert.
Wow, that was nice.
Now it's because I have noble gold stock
Right?
and everything that I've done has learned from you. And this is my appreciation to you for coming to our club.
Wow.
And I know that you had big old Albert over there,
Yeah, I like him.
But see, he tried to give me half of that thing because he didn't want to burden that $800. So he tried to sell me the other half, but
Right.
I couldn't go. So he had to bite the bullet for the
He did good though. You did good.
But the next time, yeah, he showed me all the chunks.
Yeah, he was digging it right outside the creek.
This is for you. You
Oh,
can read
wow.
the back, read the front, and the inside for you.
I appreciate you. See that? I was expecting that. Yeah, give him a round of applause, would you? Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Now, we're not quite done yet. We got a lot of prizes to give away.
T-shirts too, and I got a
Bunch
bunch
of
of
stuff.
stuff.
So,
Let me start signing them.
okay, we want to do the fight of the month real fast?
Yeah, real quick, Jim was, Thanks for putting it in there. Next time, put it up when you first come in, that way you get more votes. Yeah, I'll bring some different ones too.
Do you want me to put your nickname there, or?
Oh, we'll see. So here's a place, is like a, I don't know, big condo place or something. That's where it was. And there was a lot of people there. The parking lot was completely filled up. I had to park out here in the street. Looks like Jeff had to park right behind me here. So anyway, I'm on my way home.